One of them is to have a pet, as it turns out. We talked about this last time. Increases your dopamine level, increases your oxytocin level, increases your serotonin level. And one of the things that I didn't mention last time was that some of the nursing homes are starting to bring in pets. One of the things that they noticed before was when the people living in the nursing homes were being visited by children, that it made them happier, and they tended to live longer. The more contact they had with small children, not with teenagers or anything. Well, sometimes with teenagers, but with smaller children, it made everybody happy. So they started bringing in pets, and of course they found that it actually prolongs people's lives by bringing in pets. Spirituality has been linked with medicine throughout human history. As a matter of fact, if we go back to the Dark Ages, there was no medicine, there was only spirituality. So if you had a problem, if something was happening in your life, you were expected to pray, and then it would go away. 80% of Americans believe that spirituality promoted and supports good health. It's not quite that many people in the United States who are religious. It's closer to 70% are believe in a supreme being. So about 30% of the population doesn't. Anyway, we're going to talk about spirituality. People who are religiously active tend to live longer than the people who are not active. So if you go to church, you're more likely to live a long and happy life. 69% of people in the United States say that they are moderately to very religious. That's what I was saying before, which means about 30% of the population isn't religious at all. It's close to 70%. People who are religiously active tend to eat healthier. They tend to exercise more, as odd as that sounds. They smoke less than people who don't go to church. They consume less alcohol. They're less likely to engage in high-risk sexual behaviors because of their religious tenets on sexual behavior. Religious attendance protects adherents from migraine headaches and from high blood pressure. So if you are an individual with migraines, then you might try going to church. Try it and see if it works. We'll experiment and we'll see if it works. Anyway, and I have high blood pressure. Maybe I should go to. No, I'm actually controlling it with medicine. So let me just do it that way. Healthier lifestyle accounts for 25% of the longevity difference between people. Okay, well, anyway, we won't go into the rest of it. Churchgoers live longer. Religion tends to be communal, and that's, of course, we're talking about social support, so it gives you a lot of social support. There are problems with religions, and we won't go into those right now. One of them is that it tends to be exclusionary, but that's all I'm going to mention. The fact that it can be exclusionary, but of course, you're still, you've got a community of 50 or 100 people. How many friends can you have? Has anybody been in the cultural psychology class? How many people can you be actively engaged with? What's the total number? Turns out to be 150, as odd as that seems. So yeah, if you think about it, you really can't maintain a friendship or family base that's any larger than that. In the old days, in the hunter-gatherer days, groups of 100 to 150 would be about the max, and you couldn't have any larger numbers than that. It just didn't work out. So the numbers tends to be about 150. It's really kind of fascinating. The religiously active tend to have more social ties than the general population. They have things to do. My wife was retiring. We were moving to Iowa, and I suggested that she start going to church again. She had been going to church. Where were we? Oh, in Montana, but it was kind of a general, non-specific church. She started going to the Presbyterian Church in Iowa, and I'm assuming that it gives her something to do. She has Presbyterian Wives Club, PWC. What else does she have? She goes to Bible study on Wednesdays. She goes to church on Sundays. I mean, it gives her something to do. People who go to church on a regular basis have a sense of group identity. They identify with their religion. This can mean tangible assistance during times of stress, of course. If they need somebody to talk to, they can pick somebody out of the congregation and call them up on the phone and say, I need some help. And a lot of times they will actually help them. Potentially there's informational support. That's the way it works. Invisible support or the perception that people in the community care, of course, and these are the members of your community. But remember the guy in San Antonio. There was a reason why he went in and shot up the church and killed, what did he kill, 26, 27 people? And then they shot him, of course, he died. But he killed kids. I mean, he's going in there and he's got an assault weapon. Once again, we've got an assault weapon. And he's just blasting people away. He's walking through the church and shooting people, and they're all hiding, trying to hide. But why did he do it? Well, the reason he did it was because they had kicked him out of the church. They had shunned him. And he was really upset about that. It kind of broke up his relationship with his significant other. I think it was his wife. And their children. And he felt rejected. And it was the rejection that caused him to shoot the place up. Anyway. So it can be it's usually a positive thing. Of course, most churches don't shun. Anybody can go to church if they want to. Anybody can go to any church that they want to. You may remember the case of Dylan Roof in Charleston, South Carolina. He went to a Bible study one night. He's white, and he went into a black church and went to Bible study, and he was welcomed. And they had a good session, and then he pulled out his 9mm pistol and shot everybody at the meeting. I guess there was 9 or 10 people at the meeting, including the reverend, the leader of the church. And he shot and killed them all the people in the church. So sometimes religion is conflictual, but normally, in most cases, we don't see that. In most cases, they get more support than somebody that doesn't go to church. It's rare that we see those instances where the church has caused conflict. Spiritual activity may promote health by fostering more positive emotions. People that go to church tend to be more optimistic. They have a more hopeful worldview. One of the reasons, I don't know if you guys pay any attention to politics, but Donald Trump has moved, or he has said that he's going to move the embassy from Tel Aviv, Israel, to Jerusalem. Well, Jerusalem isn't the capital of Israel. The capital of Israel is Tel Aviv, but he's going to move it to the spiritual capital of Israel. And it's causing a lot of heartache, not only in Israel, of course, but all around the world, because this is creating all kinds of conflict with the Palestinians, because the Palestinians used to control half of Palestine, Jerusalem, I'm sorry. They used to control half of Jerusalem, and now they're still kind of upset about the fact that they're not controlling as much as they used to. So it's very conflictual, and unfortunately he's doing that. But the reason he's doing that is because there is a group in the United States that says that he needs to do that. As strange as that may seem. Are you confused yet? This group says that the second coming, you understand that Jesus is supposed to come again. The second coming can't happen until there's a civil war. In Israel. And it's going to be caused because of Jerusalem. Jerusalem has to become the capital. Once Jerusalem becomes the capital, then the war can start. Once the war starts, then now everybody's going to be happy, because the second coming is nigh. It's near. And how confusing is that? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
That's good. I worry about you sometimes. Not very often, because you're healthier than I am, and I'm jealous. Okay, I'm signing everybody in, so don't get excited. There we go. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so a more hopeful worldview. It all depends on the religion, of course. Some religions are very exclusionary. Not very many. Most religions are fairly all-encompassing. Catholic Church, most Protestant churches, but there are some churches that exclude people for one reason or another. But most of them are very inclusionary. Feelings of acceptance, of course. These individuals are in a congregation, therefore they feel accepted by the people in the congregation. Feelings of personal control, because they, in most religions, they can pray to a select individual, to a God, whichever God they may adhere to, and that God will hear their prayers, and therefore it makes them feel like they have control over things that other people don't feel like they have control over. Sense of life, that life is meaningful, of course. Potentially, of course, because they go to church, it gives them more meaning in life. If a person sees an illness as a punishment from God, they will experience more physical and psychological distress than normal. And of course, there are religions that will tell you that. I'm not going to mention the voodoo religion, but that is one of the religions that feels like the individuals feel like they can be cursed when they're being cursed by whatever the voodoo god is. Prayer of itself seems to have no health benefits. Distant healing had no effects on the health of the subject. In other words, I used to live up in Montana, and there was a lady that had a group, and she would get the group together, and they would pray for people around the world, I guess, but especially for people, in the community. And they would pray for people, and they would fast, and they would pray, and they would spend every Wednesday night they were doing this kind of stuff, and praying for people. I found it really interesting. The fasting, this lady, she was so skinny. I was worried that she was developing anorexia from her religion. That's just not right. Anyway, prayer. You can say that prayer helps, and it does. How would prayer? Well, let's assume that we're not religious. How can prayer possibly help? Just looking at it from a psychologist's point of view, how in the world could prayer possibly help? Let's pretend that there are no gods. How could prayer possibly help? Even though,
The possibility of hope.
Possibility of hope, so it gives you a more positive feeling. So we're dealing with positive psychology here, which is a nice thing. Okay. So
There's an alignment there that takes place. And it's happening in therapy within your conscience and your subconscious.
Right.
Making you think out of the ordinary.
Okay.
What is direct of that pain, of that ailment, of that purpose of that prayer? So you can reconstruct your senses, and I guess it could be able to realign your train of thought.
All of that is true. We're talking about hope. You're talking about realigning your senses, and so if I'm a biologist rather than a psychologist, what am I seeing? Well, there are positive things that are happening. So what would I be seeing, assuming that I can't query God?
You would probably look into the...
What's making this person better? Why are they getting better?
Their comprehension of, I guess, biology would be about plants, environment, and then how that works with your physical development, starting from the plants, the roots, herbs, medicine, tobacco.
You're thinking like a Navajo.
Be able to...
I want you to think like a psychologist. Not a Navajo psychologist, but just a psychologist. I know.
I guess you would say, like chasing hope from
Yeah, but that's That's a concept. But this is something solid. Something solid is happening in this person's brain.
Like chemical release.
So what is that chemical? We can talk about oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, endorphin. Oh, no, sorry. That was the answer. The answer is endorphins. Okay. Yeah, see, if we think something's going to help, if you... Exactly. And caplins and diamond. Exactly. I know. See, so what happens is if you think something's going to fix you, if you've got a headache and you take an aspirin, it's going to fix your headache right away. Well, it doesn't really fix your headache right away because it takes 20 minutes for you to digest that pill, but your headache's gone. Now, why is that? And the answer is so, and it may be the same way with prayer. So, and that supports everything that you guys have just said. Now you can become an adult. It supports all of this stuff. Now the problem is, of course, well, so if somebody's praying for you, and it's, you know, my friend just died, and they kept asking for prayers. Of course, he's in West Virginia. I pray, but my wife does, so she did. She hated the guy, but other than that, she still prayed. I don't think she prayed for him to die. That would be mean. But, so the question is, should it have helped him? The fact that all these people, you have this prayer network. My wife is part of this, and they say, pray for Charlie Jones in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And he's got cancer, he's dying. You know. So, so my wife does. She prays for him. Does it help Charlie Jones in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, when you hear somebody post say prayers and thoughts go out to this person, you know, that person reposts and say, thank you for your prayers and thoughts, I'm well.
It doesn't help him unless he knows that somebody has done it. Okay. So if you can pray and make him better without him knowing it, that it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't. He has to think that it's going to help. Why would it help? The endorphins. Do you believe that? I know, I'm not a very spiritual person. I'm the opposite of a spiritual person. Okay. But I'm just trying to explain to you that, yeah, I mean, everything you're talking about, that actually works. You know, the alignment, the plans, you know, and we were trying that with my sister, trying to get her to, you know, bunk up camper, little camper, you know, and it worked to some extent. But what was it? Why was she getting better? Well, the answer was because of the endorphins. It's the endorphins of it, dynorphins and caffeines.
So which part of that, either the endorphins or in those areas,
Right.
where is karma fitting to that?
Karma's the same thing. If you think it's going to work, it's going to work. It could possibly work. All of this, any of this stuff can work, as long as you think it's going to work. And that's positive psychology. That has to do with positive psychology.
So what about life after death? Do you believe in it?
No.
No. Where do you think we go? What do you
don't.
think happens? What do you think happens?
I don't think anything happens. Should that bother me? Everybody dies, I think, so far. Except the people that are alive. Do I believe that my mom and dad are someplace, you know, dancing the hula or whatever? No. It would be nice if they were.
So, within the psychology of it, what makes us move around and breathe and think and feel? Where does all of that go? What does psychology say?
It doesn't say anything. It doesn't deal with that. It doesn't deal with that kind of stuff. Sorry. What does biology say? Well, science doesn't say anything, does it? I mean, it really doesn't deal with it, with the spiritual world. Only religion deals with the spiritual world, right? And it's not our job. I mean, our job is to take care of people when they're alive and when they're dead, right? We can't talk to the dead, all right? Our job is to talk to people, right? I hope. Now, if you want to talk to the dead, I don't have any problem with that at all. If you want to pray to a supreme being, I think that's wonderful. If it helps you, I think you should. I want you to. I will honor you if you talk to the dead. But don't ask me to do it. I don't want to get involved with that. Besides, I might burst into flames. You wouldn't want to see that.
So how come in your state of mind you felt that you could be able to get healthy and get better, but you still end up losing your part of your body?
That'd be depressing.
How does that happen? You know,
I've got pieces missing. You know I've got pieces missing. I don't have a spleen. I'm spleenless.
But how did that happen? You know, like, even though you knew about your health and you had all the education in the world about it, but you still took
Ran into the wrong English goalie. That's what happened. Son of a bitch. Did I say son of a bitch? That's what I meant. That son of a bitch. He came after me and he took me out. Anyway. And I knew him. He was a friend of mine. Was a friend of mine. I don't have an ACL in my left knee because of a first baseman. Johnny knows
You
this
didn't take
story.
sports psychology, didn't you?
I did. I taught sports psychology.
How did you still get injured?
You get injured because things happen. The guy hit me. He blindsided me. Edison knows the story. He blindsided me. Yeah. Goalies aren't supposed to come out of the goal. Goalies aren't supposed to run all the way down the field, cross the halfway line, and hit you in your own on your own side of the field. That's not supposed to happen. They're supposed to stay in the goal box. They're not supposed to come that far down. That almost never happens. It did on that day. That guy took me out. I'd already scored on him twice. He wasn't going to let me score on him a third time. And I didn't. You know how important that game was? It wasn't important at all. But I lost a spleen because of that game.
But sports psychology says you have to expect the unexpected.
Possibly.
Where were you at that time? What were you thinking?
I was thinking I'm going to go down and score because I got nobody in front of me except for the goalie, and I got the ball, and I'm twice as fast as these guys who were chasing me, so I'm going to make it all the way down. And he decided that I wasn't going to, so he took me out. And he came from right over there, and I'm headed toward the I'm headed to the post, and he actually came out, around and came back and hit me. And he was, he must have weighed 200, 250 pounds. He was like this tall. He was a bowling ball. He hit me. And he broke his shoulder when he hit me. I know Michelle was upset. I won't talk about my broken chest anymore. It took him 28 hours to diagnose my ruptured spleen. I almost died. I know. That's sports psychology. Stress, exercise. So what does exercise do for you? What does exercise do for you? Physiological effects: it enhances your blood flow to the brain. It lowers your blood pressure and resting heart rate. It reduces your cardiovascular reactivity to stress. It reduces your cardiovascular reactivity to stress. I had a heart attack in 2010. And the doctor told me if I wasn't an athlete, it would have killed me. I lift weights, I run, I eat relatively healthy, not that healthy, but I eat relatively healthy. And my heart was as healthy as it possibly could be when it only had 97% of its blood flow going. But if it hadn't been for the fact that I'm an athlete, I would have been in the grave just like my friend who just died. He died because he smokes and drinks and eats potato chips for every meal. Actually, yours dead. But yeah, and that's the reason he died. He had exactly the same heart attack I did,
What was the reason?
because he's not an athlete.
No, like you. How come you don't say that?
I had a heart attack because I got fired.
So your stress level, wasn't your stress level a little bit?
My stress level just exploded. I'd been teaching there for 10 years. I was beloved by not just the students of the school, but the whole community. I worked at powwows. You see my Fort Belknap veterans powwow jacket. Have you seen that, haven't you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was on the powwow committee for like 8 years.
So all the methods and mechanisms and strategies just wasn't effective like that.
I got fired.
Second song.
I got fired. I was taken out of the community that I had become a part of. I was ripped from my new family. And that was very stressful. I know, it's horrible. So like 10 days after I got fired, I had the heart attack. But in between those 10 days, I played in the state softball tournament. I know. I hit 650, I think, or something. I was doing pretty good. Okay. So reduced cardiovascular reactivity to stress, fewer stress-related health problems, and that's the physiological effects. The psychological effects, it enhances your a sense of well-being. It decreases your anxiety level. Exercise offers time out, change of pace, boost to self-esteem. It improves your appearance because you look better than you did before, and now you can look at yourself and say, I look good, I look younger, I look healthier. It reduces depression by elevating low serotonin levels, similar to the effect of antidepressant drugs. So you can exercise and cure your depression because it raises your serotonin level. It raises your testosterone level. It especially raises the testosterone level in males. So lifting weights or running or doing some kind of physical activity makes you feel better. It makes you feel happier. It makes you feel stronger. Okay, so let's all exercise. Let's all go out and take a jog. Progressive muscle relaxation is a form of training that reduces muscle tension through the series of tensing and relaxing exercises. Progressive muscle relaxation is the cornerstone of many of the modern relaxation procedures. It involves selecting a muscle group to target, tensing that muscle for 10 seconds, and then slowly releasing it. The first time I ever experienced this, I was in a behavioral modification class, and the guy wanted us to try some of this progressive muscle relaxation, and he put us all to sleep. We were all pretty tired, almost as tired as Sheldon is right now. Yeah, I know. He knocked us out. Of course, we'd all. It was like 6 o'clock at night, and we'd all work. This is when I was in the military, so we'd all work our tails off that day, and we were all pretty tired, and he just knocked us all out. We all went to sleep. As funny as that is. And of course, he let us sleep for about like 10 minutes before he woke us up, which was kind of nice, I guess. Anyway, and you do that. This is all you do. You select a muscle group, probably a major muscle. It's better if you do a major muscle. Don't tighten your finger up and relax it. That's not what you need to do. You need to use a major muscle group, like your quadriceps or your calf muscles, or your chest muscles, or your biceps, major muscle group. And you just slowly walk through your body, tensing and relaxing your muscles. And you can't make it through your entire body. You'll go to sleep before that, or if you do it over and over and over again, of course. If you're trying to go to sleep, it'll put you to sleep in about 5 minutes. So try that if you're having problems going to sleep. Just tighten the muscle and then relax it. Tighten it for 10 seconds and then tighten the other side for 10 seconds and then relax it. And tighten your thigh muscles but you won't be able to make it through your entire body. Relaxation, I'm sorry.
Isn't that why when somebody gets so emotional and so angry, you get after their frustration, they kind of relax and calm down, they just drain themselves.
I know.
They just go to sleep.
Or they'll fall asleep. I know, it's too funny. Exactly, that's exactly why. Relaxation response is a meditative state of slowed metabolism and lowered blood pressure. Deep breathing and visualization involves slowing down your breathing and taking it deeper. Okay. Biofeedback is a system that provides audible or visible feedback on an involuntary physiological state. Biofeedback may be more effective with children than with adults. There are few well-controlled clinical trials of patients with confirmed medical conditions where biofeedback actually was successful. Even when effective, the reasons biofeedback works is not quite clear. With biofeedback, you're telling the individual that their blood pressure is high and they need to control it. Can you control your blood pressure? Can you lower your own blood pressure? Can you lower your heart rate? Can you do that?
From where it's at.
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, my heart rate right now is 116.
Okay, it stands still.
Can I lower it?
Now check it.
Did you lower it? Still
I
116.
think you can after you go to sleep.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, normally if I'm just sitting in a chair, I look at my heart rate, it's in the 50s, somewhere in the 50s. And now it's 116. Of course, I'm dancing around, talking to you guys. Yeah, you can. Actually, you can. And you can do the same thing with your blood pressure. So all you need to do is relax. So if you know that your blood pressure's high, all you need to do is relax. It works. You don't believe it, do you? It works. Patients with lower back pain or migraine and tension headaches typically report less pain over time, even without any form of treatment. So the reality is, of course, that you can control your pain as well as control your other functions. Mindfulness-based stress reduction is a technique used to self-regulate negative reactions to stress. This training increases the activity in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. It regulates activity in the amygdala. It regulates other parts of the limbic system that are activated by negative emotions and anxiety. And of course, these are some of the techniques that you use with mindfulness training, as odd as that may sound. There are people on campus that perform transcendental meditation. I don't know if you've ever run into any of these guys. Don Robinson he went to his PhD from a college that teaches. It's in Iowa. So he practices transcendental meditation. He's funny.
What is that?
You know Don Robinson?
I know him, but what is that?
Transcendental meditation is where you practice thinking. You clear your mind. And so what you're practicing is you're focusing on something that you find relaxing. And you do this on a regular basis. And some people tense their muscles while they do it, and they can actually build muscle mass by using transcendental meditation. There's a lot of people that do it. There's actually a couple people on the reservoir at the college. You may remember Bonnie Duran that was here. Yeah. Well, she talked about that in class. She talked about transcendental meditation. But she does TM, and it's saved her life. Transcendental meditation is, do I have any adherents here because I'm about to insult it? No? Okay, good. Transcendental meditation is for people that have a problem controlling their blood pressure and their heart rate. It's for type A personalities, and it teaches them how to be type B personalities. And that's what Bonnie Duran. She's got a problem. Sure, she's got a problem. Of course, her problem is the fact that she's a type A personality, and she wants to, she's burning the candle in the middle and on both ends. So she needs something that to come down off of this this constant hostile high that she has. So she uses transcendental meditation. People that are type A personalities are very, very successful people, but they usually die young, and the reason is because of the blood pressure. So, yeah, they need transcendental meditation. Somebody like me, I'm a type B personality, or a Z personality. I'm almost asleep. I don't have to worry about it. Cognitive therapy, and it works for some people, okay? Don't tell them, Sarah, that I said it. Transcendental meditation didn't work. She doesn't, I don't think she uses it. It's just another technique. It's just another technique. The Hindu religion, the Buddhist religion, uses transcendental meditation for service. So, I had a friend in that behavior modification class. They put a blood pressure monitor on this guy, and he said that he practiced Taekwondo, and he said, I can get my heart rate down below 30. Well, nobody's heart beats that slow normally, but he concentrated on it because he practices Taekwondo. He was able to get his heart rate down to 27. And even when I'm the healthiest that I've ever been, my heart rate goes to 27. You don't want your heart rate to be 27. That's like beating every once in a great while, okay? You want your heart to keep pumping that blood through your body. But he was able to get it down to 27. It was amazing. He almost put the rest of us to sleep listening to his heart beating. And he would concentrate, and his heart would get slower and slower and slower. Finally, it went down to 27. It was almost in a state of suspended animation. Do we have this kind of control over ourselves? Of course we do. Cognitive therapy teaches people new, more adaptive ways of thinking and acting. Cognitive therapy is based on the assumption that thoughts intervene between events and our emotional reactions. And this is the cognitive behavioral therapy that we talk about so much. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. This is Beck. This is Ellis. These are our cognitive behavioral therapists. And they think the problem that you have is the fact that you are, what's the word I'm looking for? That you're thinking thoughts that you shouldn't be thinking. And you're ruminating about these things, about these problems. Have you ever had a problem and you couldn't not think about it? You tried not to think about it? Yeah. Somebody's breaking up with you, your second wife's breaking up with you, you don't know why, and you can't not think about it, you have to think about it. It's a relationship problem. Some people can't, they think about everything about it. They ruminate about everything. Everything bothers them. I mean, the rest of us, we only worry about things that are really important, right? Things that are really important. Or not. We don't worry about whether they're going to have potato chips at the gas station. I want some potato chips. What if they don't have any potato chips? Should I worry about it? Should I ruminate about it? Edison says yes, okay. Some people worry about that kind of stuff. They're worriers. I had an aunt that was a worrier. Boy, she just drove us all crazy. So what do you do with somebody that's like that? How in the world do you deal with something like that? You become passive aggressive. So nothing bothers you. All of a sudden, nothing bothers you. And that's being passive aggressive. And that's all you can do. It's the only way you can handle somebody that worries about everything. Oh, man. Okay, chapter 6. All right. Chapter 6 is about Exercise. We just talked about exercise, so let's talk about exercise. Staying healthy, primary prevention, and positive psychology. We're going to talk about positive psychology. I studied positive psychology. It's kind of exciting to me. I try to stay positive all the time. I try to only do positive things. I try not to throw any negativity toward you, and I probably won't, even if you don't do anything. Oh, this is a warning, a hint and a warning. You need to go online, Sheldon, and at least go onto the blackboard so that I know that you've turned it on, okay? I know. If I don't have any grades for you come midterm time, of course midterm is how many days away? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't know. If I don't have a grade for you, the only grade I can possibly give you is not very high. Okay. Pretty damn low. So at least do something. I know you're going to get everything done. That's not my worry, but I don't really have a choice. So do it right now. Go on the blackboard.
I was on there all day yesterday.
Because if you haven't been there ever, then everybody can see that. I can see that. If they want to look at it, they can see it. So that's a problem. I don't have any grades for you.
For which one, this class or to the next class?
All of them, any of them.
Really?
Yeah.
I was on there yesterday all day.
You were on there all day. Well, see, okay. So I didn't look last night.
Yeah.
I watched television instead. I should have kept my mouth shut. Okay, so we're talking about exercise. Healthy and a health-enhancing behavior or a habit that would be exercising regularly. That's a good idea. Exercising regularly. Using sunscreen. Now, you guys are darker complexion than I am. I've had cancer. I've had 3 bouts of skin cancer. I'm a very pale person. I'm not that pale. But white people, I know you guys know. I know some of your best friends are white. White people tend to be very sensitive to the skin, the sun, I'm sorry. And they get skin cancer. And I've had 3 bouts of skin cancer. My mother must have had 15 or 20. She was a redhead, and she was a child. So using sunscreen, of course, that doesn't mean that much to you guys. Skin cancer, do you ever see skin cancer among natives? No? Indigenous people? No? Nothing? Okay. Congratulations. That's one less thing to worry about. My wife harasses me about putting on sunscreen. I hate sunscreen. It smells so bad. And it clogs up all your pores and you feel like you can't breathe. I just want to go out in the sun and cook, I love that. Eating healthy? What does eating healthy mean? What I have for breakfast? I had a glass of V8 juice. That's 1 helping of vegetables. It's so cool. Just like drinking V8 juice. Oh, what did I have for lunch? I had apples. I had nectarines. They're in season right now. What else did I have? I had one of those fruit cups with a half a cherry in it. So good. Practice safe sex. As I keep telling you, they talk about practicing safe sex. You guys don't have to worry about this. Well, you maybe. They're not really talking to people that are adults. They're really talking to 18 and 19-year-olds because they're not real bright. And you guys are a little more mature than that, so you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. But if this were at ASU, if I were teaching this class at ASU, if I were teaching this class at U of A or University of New Mexico, most of my students would be 18 and 19-year-olds. And they're dumb as dirt. I mean, they're so stupid, aren't they? They get drunk all the time, don't they? I mean, they do. They think that's what they're supposed to do. So practicing safe sex is not a bad thing to tell those guys. I put this lecture together, not here, but I put it together at Ashford. And of course, they were having problems with not practicing safe sex. I can say that. Anyway, practice safe sex. Wear your seatbelts. This is a really serious problem up in Montana. Those guys drive really, really fast. The roads are they're almost all 2-lane highways, and it angles down. So if you're going 90 miles an hour and you pull off the road and you're no longer on the road, all of a sudden you're tilted sideways. Well, if you're going 90 miles an hour, guess what happens next? Exactly. So, and these, I couldn't convince them to wear their seatbelts. Why wouldn't they wear their seatbelts? What's their excuse?
There's invincible.
I'm sorry?
They're invincible.
Well,
They know they're not
They're safe.
uncomfortable.
they're safe enough.
I don't want to.
They're going by
Choose
speed
not
limit.
Have them that have driver's licenses anyway, but the excuse they gave was they didn't want to get stuck in their car if it started on fire. They didn't want to burn up. You think I'm kidding? I heard this over and over and over again. And of course, the week before, 3 people were thrown out of a pickup truck, and the truck rolled over and they killed all 3 of them.
Can they check my phone?
Of course not, nothing ever comes of that. I had one student that she was riding in the back seat of the car, she was thrown out of the car, her aunt landed on top of her, the car rolled over both of them, it broke her hip and killed her aunt, crushed her skull, against her skull. Does that sound ugly? She was ejected, both of them were ejected from the car. The ant landed on top of her. If the ant hadn't landed on top of her, the car would have killed her. But as it turned out, it just crushed her pelvis. So wear your seatbelt. So wear your seatbelts. That's a good idea. Stop smoking. Don't smoke. It's not good. That skull that you see coming out of this guy's mouth, that's real. That stuff, it's toxic. It's poison. If you do it for an extended length of time, you'll be dead. Don't eat excessively. Just control your diet. What did we learn about President Trump? 6 o'clock he goes to bed. 6 o'clock in the evening he goes to bed with a cheeseburger. Not just a cheeseburger, it has to be a cheeseburger from McDonald's. Why does he eat a cheeseburger from McDonald's? Does anybody know? This is exciting. He thinks that people are trying to poison him. And he figures if he gets a cheeseburger from McDonald's, then they don't know who he is, and they make millions of these things every day, so they're not going to poison him. That's kind of odd. Anyway, you're president. What else can we do? We need to not use substances. This is all toxic. Substance abuse. Don't do it. Don't text while you're driving. Driving's hard enough the way it is. Cars don't know where they're going. They go straight. Or they curve because the... Okay. Anyway, don't do it. Risky sexual behavior. This is not real. We were talking about this. I showed this to Marius when I was downstairs. I said, is this bad? Should I not sort of... The person on top has a toe tag on. They're dead. Both of them are dead, I guess. That's risky sexual behavior. But neither of them are dead. Don't worry. I can tell a dead person when I see it. Neither of them are dead. They're not dead. They're just supposed to be dead, okay? Dead people are dead. Okay? They're not, okay. You believe me, right? Anyway, yeah, so risky sexual behavior. The Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance Project is a project conducted by the CDC to determine what behaviors lead to early death. If the following are started when young, premature death is predicted, if you start smoking at an early age, any form of tobacco, that includes chewing tobacco or snuff that you put between your cheek and gums, eating high-fat and low-fiber foods. It's the only foods that poor people sometimes can get. Not engaging in enough physical activity, of course. Abusing alcohol or other drugs, including marijuana. Marijuana is not, just because they've legalized it in 7 states, I think it's 7 now, doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. They didn't say everybody should smoke marijuana because it's healthier for you. It's not like eating tomatoes or something. Marijuana has toxins in it. It's just as dangerous as tobacco. So it's not that good for you. Not using proven medical methods for preventing or diagnosing diseases early. You need to get your flu shots. If you're female, you need pap smears. If you're over 50, you need a colonoscopy. And of course, women over the age of 40, I believe, are supposed to get yearly mammograms. In the military, of course, they can order you to go and do these things. So in the military, you have to get your flu shot if they tell you you have to get one. If you're female, you have to get a pap smear. If you're over 50, if you're over 50, you have to get a colonoscopy. They will order you to go to the hospital. And if you're a female, of course, you have to have a mammogram. And they will order you to do it. My wife's least favorite thing is a mammogram. She hates it. She hates mammograms. Those of you who are female, of course, know exactly what I'm talking about. But those of you who are male and you have never talked to anybody that has had a mammogram, you guys know what a mammogram is? They take your breast, and they put your breast on a plate, and they take another plate and they crush, they smash, they push down really hard, okay? It's really uncomfortable. And then they take an x-ray of the smashed breast. That's how they do a mammogram, okay? It's not a lot of fun. I was talking about prostate exams, but we don't need to talk about prostate exams. Exams, they're not fun either, but at least they don't take a part of your body and crush it, and then take an x-ray of the crushed part of your body. It's horrible. Am I right or am I right? Have you guys ever had mammograms? Okay. They're horrible. They're horrible. And now they're saying that you don't need them to do that. I know. After all that. Yeah, and they've been doing them for, I don't know, my wife had them when she was in the service. She got out in 2001. They've been doing these things for like 30, 40 years. Mammograms. Stupid. And now they say you don't need them anymore. Okay, so what else are we doing? Engaging in violent behavior that may cause unintentional injuries, so you need to be non-violent. 9.5 years into the famous Almeida health study, the mortality of men who regularly practiced all 7 health habits was 28% of the mortality of those who had practiced 3 or fewer health behaviors. What you need to do as a healthy adult is sleep for 7 to 8 hours a day. Don't smoke. Never smoke. If you smoke at all, then you are opening yourself up to lung cancer. You're opening yourself up to emphysema. You're also potentially damaging your arteries of your heart. You need to be as close to your healthy body weight as you possibly can be. You need to use alcohol moderately. Using alcohol is not a negative thing if you use it in moderation. 1 drink a day, that's okay. You can go ahead and drink that glass of wine, you're okay. Unless you're an alcoholic and you need to stay away from it completely. But you should use alcohol moderately. You need to exercise regularly, get that blood pumping through your body so that your body knows how to be under stress. You need to eat breakfast and avoid between meal snacking. So eat your breakfast. And I had breakfast this morning. What did I have for breakfast? I had a glass of V8 juice. And it's a helping of vegetables. Write that down. See how healthy I am? I had V8 juice for breakfast. Healthy behaviors and death rates. As you can see, the more of these things that you do, all these healthy things that you do, the longer that you're going to live. Potentially the longer you're going to live. This non-stage theory of the health belief model, HBM, is the non-stage theory. It emphasizes the interacting factors that influence our decision-making about health behaviors. If we believe that an available course of action will reduce our susceptibility to or the severity of the condition, then we will engage in that health behavior based on perceived susceptibility, perceived severity of the health threat, perceived benefits of the barriers to threat, and cues to action. So if you knew that you were suffering from cardiovascular disease, would you stop eating potato chips? Stop smoking. Stop snorting all that cocaine. Stop drinking that fifth of gin every day. Would you do that? Would you do that? That's health belief model. So if you believe that you can actually help yourself, of course you'll potentially do that. I told you the story of my sister. She died in 2003. And she died of cancer. She swore that she'd never exercised in her life, ever. But when she came down with cancer, of course, they told her that she needed a healthier lifestyle. She wasn't moving at all. This is a lady that would roll around her house on a rolling chair. That's how lazy she was. I mean, and she wasn't fat. She was skinny. She was relatively slim. That wasn't her problem. Her problem was that her blood pressure was so low, her heart rate was so low. I mean, she never exercised at all. She never pumped anything through her body. And all those toxins just built up in her system. And so they told her to start exercising. And so she started walking, finally. So she believed that she could actually help herself. And she lived for 5 more years after she started exercising. She called me an idiot. Probably more than a lot. She called me an idiot a lot. And it was mostly because I was an athlete. And she believed that if you build up your muscles, as soon as you stopped using them, that they turn into fat. That was her theory in obesity, was the fact that these people were active before and now they're inactive. That was her theory. Of course, that's completely erroneous. She's completely wrong, and of course, before she died, she admitted to me that she was wrong and I was right. And it's like the only time in my life that she ever told me that I was correct. According to the health belief model, a person will take action if they regard themselves as susceptible, if they believe the condition has serious personal consequences, if they believe that a course of action will either reduce their susceptibility or the severity of the condition. They believe that the benefits of the action outweigh the costs. The environmental influences are encouraging change. Their family wants them to change. Their boss is telling them they have to change. The health department wants them to change. Theory of planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior predicts that a person's decision to engage in a particular health behavior is based on behavioral intention determined by 3 factors. The personal attitude toward the behavior, motivation to comply with the views of other people in regard to the behavior, perceived expectation of success in performing the behavior. Okay, I just talked about my sister. My sister didn't believe in exercise. As soon as she found out that she had cardiovascular disease, she had cardiomyopathy. She had, her heart muscle was big, was oversized. And they thought, oh, she needs a heart transplant. So they put her on the heart transplant list. And then they found the cancer. And then they realized, well, the heart problem is being caused by the cancer. So they cut the cancer out as much as they could get out. And her heart problem went away. So her personal attitude toward, and they told her she needed to start exercising. Her personal attitude toward exercising was not to do it. She hated it. She didn't want to do it. So her personal attitude toward the behavior was very, very negative. But she had motivation to comply with the views of other people in this regard. The doctors were right. I was right. She finally told me before she died, I was right. I was the one that told her to exercise, that exercise was good for you, that you'd live forever if you exercise. You're not going to live forever, even if you exercise. But she only lived to be 59 years old. That's 9 years. I mean, I'm 68 right now. I would have died 9 years ago. Right now. If I died with my sister. I mean, if I'd only lived as long as my sister did. So she had a motivation, and there were people that were telling her she needed to do this. She didn't believe me, of course. I'm an idiot. As she told me time and time again that I was stupid. But the doctors told her that she needed to exercise. And then she started exercising. And she thought that maybe it would help her. And since she was not fat, she was relatively slender. She became healthy. I mean, she improved her muscle tone almost immediately because she didn't have any body fat to reduce in her case. The trans-theoretical or stages of change model assesses a person's readiness to act on a new, healthier behavior. The model also identifies strategies and processes to guide the individual through the stages of change to successful action and maintenance. There's a reason why we're talking about all these theories. One of the things that health psychologists do is that they counsel people about exercise. They counsel people about eating. They counsel people about all of these things. So the reason we're talking about this is because we're trying to teach you some of the different theories that people have or that individuals have that have seen this, that have worked in medicine. They're trying to show you what these theories are so that you understand them. Or maybe you can use them on select individuals. Critics point out that the stages are not mutually exclusive and people do not always move sequentially through discrete stages as they strive to change their health behaviors. The first stage is contemplation. The individual is not thinking about changing their behavior. They may be in denial that the behavior needs to be changed. Well, we see this a lot with individuals suffering from substance abuse. If they have, if they are alcoholics, as far as they're concerned, it's not really hurting their health. We had a guy that came into the clinic one time, and this guy had been, he'd only been drinking for about 20 years, but he was 39 years old. And he was dying. He was killing himself with all the alcohol that he drank. But to talk to him, if you could get a lucid sentence out of the guy, he didn't think that there was a problem at all. I know. He was in the stage one. He was in the pre-contemplation stage. Despite the fact that all of his organs were shutting down. Literally, all of his organs were shutting down. And I had to work the guy up. Oh, it's horrible. I mean, everything. His liver didn't work. his pancreas was a mess. Everything was just shot. His kidneys were almost completely gone. His brother had found him on the street. Of course, his brother hadn't paid any attention to him for the last 10 years while he was dying. And brought him into the clinic, and we worked him up. And he had tuberculosis. The guy had HIV. He had everything in the world you could think of wrong with him. And he was about to die. And he did. The next day he died. I know, he came into the clinic, so what should we have done? Well, there wasn't anything we could do. He was thirsty. He needed a drink. And he went out and he found himself a 6-pack of beer and drank down the 6-pack of beer. And that made him lucid enough to be able to go and get a bottle. So now he's got a bottle of whiskey, I think was his drink. I don't think it was vodka. Anyway, the next day, they found him. He went to the police, the fire department. Went to the fire department, laid down in front of their door. They opened their door, and here's this guy laying there, and he's on death's door, literally on death's door. And of course, they started to bring him over to the clinic, and he died on the way. As sad as that is. He killed himself, but he was in denial. Even as his organs were shutting down, he was completely in denial. Stage 2 is contemplation. They admit that they have a problem. They are seriously considering changing the behavior in the near future. And of course, that's when they realize that this is really something that's going to injure me, then they really do. That's so funny. I was addicted to the hokey pokey, and then I turned myself around. Oh man! Sometimes I am so funny. Oh, I didn't make sure this thing. This may be shooting across the room someplace. Nah, I'm okay. There we go. Yeah. Stage 3 is preparation. This stage includes both thoughts and actions. The actions include specific plans toward the behavioral change. Of course, if you decide that you need to exercise, you finally decide that you need to exercise, one of the things you're going to do is plan when to go. So if you guys wanted to exercise, when would you go to the gym? Actually, the weight room is nice here. It's really, really nice. I've been in weight rooms all around the world over the last 60 years, okay? And this is a nice one. They've got a lot of good equipment over there. They have 2 sets of weights, free weights. They've got machines. It's a really nice weight room. So if you're planning on doing something, planning on exercising, how would you do it? Well, first of all, you'd figure out when you had free time. You'd have to dress in the right clothes. You don't want to dress in your school clothes to go to the gym because, well, you get out of there, you're kind of sweaty, and it's smelling real good. So you probably want to do it at the end of the day. Okay. So this is the planning that you would make. Okay, on Tuesdays, and well, I can't go into the weight room every day because I'll be sore. So I'll go twice a week. I mean, this is the planning that you would do. And I don't want to do it. I can't go in the morning because if I go in the morning, then I might smell bad. And I've got the wrong clothes on. And all of this stuff. So I need to go at the end of the day. So we figure out, well, I can go on Tuesdays, and how about Fridays? Nothing's going on Fridays, so I'll go on Tuesdays and Fridays. There's a plan for it. So stage 3 is preparation. You're ready to change. Stage 4, people are actually changing their behaviors and are trying to sustain their effort. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. First time you go to the weight room, I take some time off. Every once in a while I can't get in to go lift, and I go back. Haven't lifted for 3 weeks. I'll go back, my muscles will be so sore. And because of that, of course, or your legs are sore because you've been running, you've tried to run, and your lungs are hurting, and you don't want to do this anymore. But of course, you need to sustain it. And of course, that's the most difficult part, is sustaining your plan. Maintenance, people maintain their success. As in the case of addictive behavior, this stage can last indefinitely. Hopefully it will last indefinitely. An arbitrary cutoff is at 6 months, of course. So if you can maintain a exercise program, or whatever the program is, for 6 months, you're in pretty good shape. You should be okay if you can maintain it for at least 6 months. Primary prevention refers to health-enhancing efforts to prevent disease or injury from occurring. And of course, prevention has to do with wearing your seatbelts just in case you get in an accident. Marius was driving down the street. I'm telling the story on one of my colleagues. I apologize. Driving down the road, an elk ran out in front of him. This was on this side of Crystal. No, it was on the other side of Crystal. It's on the other side of Navajo. Anyway, he ran in front of him, and he had a choice between hitting the elk or pulling off the road. That was his choice. So instead of hitting the elk, he ran into the ditch, pulled his truck, didn't hurt himself because he had a seatbelt. He had the cat in his car with him. He has a cat. Oh, the cat travels with him. The cat went from the back, was sleeping in the back, and it slid all the way up to the front. So the cat, it missed everything. I mean, it missed everything. So it went all the way from the back to the front in his truck. Totaled his truck, but he didn't hurt himself because he was wearing his seatbelt. Smart man. Practice good nutrition. Drink your V8 juice in the morning. Actually, V8 juice is expensive. I'd eat a good breakfast rather than drink V8 juice. Exercise. Avoid smoking. Don't do that. Obtain regular health screening to make sure that you don't have a problem. Like you've developed cancer, you've developed diabetes, you've developed whatever. Maintain healthy sleep patterns. Try to maintain healthy sleep patterns. Not the easiest thing in the world, maintaining healthy sleep patterns. Go to bed at a select time during the night. You can get yourself in a habit. Go to bed at 10 so that you can get up at 6. That's 8 hours of sleep. That's not bad. Go to bed at 11 so you can get up at 7. This kind of stuff. If you don't go to sleep right away, don't worry about it. If you worry about it, you're really not gonna go to sleep. You're gonna be sitting there going, oh God, I wish I could go to sleep. If I go to sleep right now, I'm gonna get 6.5 hours sleep, and I need at least 7 or 6. Oh my God, what if I don't go to sleep? And of course, you do go to sleep. Secondary prevention involves actions taken to identify and treat an illness or disability early in the occurrence, monitoring your symptoms, of course, take your medications, take whatever the doctor tells you. Sometimes you need to finish the prescription, unless it's OxyContin or hydrocodone, and then don't worry about it. Dietary changes, of course. If you are sick, your diet's going to change. And don't worry about that. Following treatment regimens, of course, whatever he tells you to do, go ahead and do it. Tertiary prevention involves actions taken to contain damage once a disease or disability has progressed beyond its early stages. If it's cancer, of course, radiation therapy is one of the things that you'll be doing. Chemotherapy, of course, less cost-effective and less beneficial than primary or secondary prevention. These are all very expensive. So once you get to this stage, you're going to be spending some money, or your insurance company will. This is the most common form of health care. Most people don't even start thinking about their cancer. They don't start, a guy starts having a pain in his stomach, he doesn't think about going to the doctor until, he starts vomiting. Well, why didn't you go in like 2 weeks ago? Why did I not go in to have my heart attack checked? I had a heart attack 4 days before it actually went in. I know, I just come back from my softball tournament. But I didn't go in right away. I had this pain under my clavicle. It was right here. It felt like a bubble. And it was a heart attack. I was having a heart attack. And of course, I've seen thousands of heart attacks. And why in the hell didn't I respond to it? Dumb me, I thought it was something else. Or I was in denial. I know, I should have gone in. You're right, I should have gone in, but I didn't. It took me 4 days to go in. Anyway, why don't we stop right here? We'll stop right here with the cemetery. And we'll pick this up next week. Wait a minute, today's Wednesday, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Next week.
But so this is the 6th week, and I'm on chapter 6. I'm starting on chapter 6. I'm on like 15 or something. 26. I'm on slide 26. All right. So tell your friends, tell all your friends that I'm up to where I'm supposed to be. And I'm usually behind. Brag to Sarah if you see her. She doesn't care where I am. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend if I don't see you tomorrow. I get to see Sheldon tomorrow. Johnny I get to see. I get to see you tomorrow. Yeah. Sheldon will be here, of course, tomorrow. Edison will be tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. You don't have a Thursday class with me? Don't you have a Thursday class? Just a Monday, Wednesday,
Thursday class.
What do I have? What do we have, Edison? Tomorrow. Drug use and abuse.
I already got hired.
Okay. Well, I remember you arguing.
Yeah, I remember you guys cooking up. You sparked me, remember?
Why did you write your paper on it? Why did you write your paper? Oh, I remember that. Okay, I remember. What else do we have tomorrow, Edison? Oh, social science. Have you had social science? You're doing it online.
I did already.
Oh,
I did it from face to face.
okay. All right. Oh, geez, I gotta turn this thing off.